Yeah, 1 2 1 2. Hey yo, AC. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Hey. Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
The podcast.
Shout out to Rockhound Detroit Lions, man. My pride.
All right. I think we have some volume. Let's check it. All right, we do. All right, welcome into Rockhound Detroit Lions off the cuff. I apologize, we're way late, but I had nothing but issues. Got a couple of videos done, trying to work with OBS on fixing this delay. I doubt it's fixed. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit. So I apologize every time I come in to tell you guys something. We've got issues. It's just going to be this way for the next few days. By the way, off tomorrow. Will not be in tomorrow. We'll be in Detroit at Ford Field with my dad doing the garage sale, whatever you want to call it, man. I forget what it's even called tomorrow. But it's kind of hang out at Ford Field. We're just going to go through the locker rooms, and they'll have some other things, for sale. I think Eric's going tomorrow too. So I doubt there's going to be any chance for us to do any morning show in the morning, at least for Eric, since he's got to drive so far. It's doubtful that I'm going to do it as well, so I can get out there early and then get back, which kind of sucks because I have a feeling what's going to happen tomorrow is there's going to be some things going down tomorrow. There's going to be some things going down tomorrow. It's afternoon. Right, when everything's all set, afternoon tomorrow, I think that's when things are going to start to go down for the Lions, and we might hear some noise. So let's see here. Trying to figure out who we have in. Highly doubt I can even take phone calls. I tried to take a phone call. I tried to have Megan test. I could barely hear. And this is why I hate using Bluetooth. So I'll try. I mean, I guess that's all I can do is try, right? And we'll see if it works. It's all new. So let me make sure it's connected again. I just got to figure out how to hardwire it. I'd rather hardwire it. I'd rather just use my screen to take phone calls, honestly. Which it kind of works. All right, so that should be connected. Anyway, obviously we've covered a lot today. We've already done this a couple of times. We've talked through a couple of videos, and I mean, what happened today was absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. It's kind of funny because I told Eric and you guys in one of the morning shows how I felt like they were going to leave some holes. I really felt like they were going to leave some holes on this roster. But like I've always said, we have to fill out the best 53 that we think are on this roster, and really can't project for the holes and them leaving holes, because that's just not, it's just not what we do. But it made sense at the end of the day when you go and look at the roster and who they kept. It makes sense. Now, what doesn't make sense, and I just explained this in the video with Ahmed Hassan, is the IR designation. That's what doesn't make sense. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the Ahmed Hassan video that I just released, Ahmed Hassan might have just played his last down in Detroit. And that is for real, for real. He might have just played his last down in Detroit. That's a good question, Stain Vision. I haven't even had a chance to look at everybody else's initial 53. I can do a quick search and see. Let's see. So the Chicago Bears had a full 53, but they placed Travis Homer and Amin O on IR. So Amin O is a big one. That they picked him up this year with designation to return. So they used the IR to return. Right? Now there's that. What that does is it expands your 53 to 55. And what it also does is it takes away 2 of the 8 IRs that you get throughout the season. Let me put in a question here. And I'm just wondering why Brad and Dan felt it was necessary to protect those IR designations. That's the part I don't understand. According to a quick search today, which can't be right because it's not picking up the Lions, it says that San Francisco had 52, New York Jets had 52, the Bills had 52, and the Cowboys had 51. And I don't know if that's accurate, right? I have no idea. I didn't look today. I mean, that would take some searching today to get. I mean, really all you have to do is, let's just check the NFC North while we're live. Let's just check the Bears' initial 53 man. So, Chicago Bears announce the roster moves. And let's just take a look. So they put 2 players on IR to return. They had 3 players waived, injured. They waived Maurice Alexander. That's no surprise. Nothing really popping out at me. I'm surprised Caleb Williams is still on the roster. But it would appear that they have all 53. There's 53 pictures set up. That's how they introduced it. They didn't do a list of names on the website. They did pictures of all 53 players that made it. Each team does something a little bit different, it looks like. So the Packers' initial 53 man. Let's see what they got today. Definitely we're going to talk about some of this tomorrow, but I think Eric just texted me. Maybe he's not going tomorrow. I guess, the biggest question that I have is why they held this back. You left 3 spots open. You didn't use any of the IR, and you let some really good football players go. What's the plan here? Nazir Stackhouse, the guy that I really liked at the Combine that ended up going to the Packers. He made the 53-man roster today. It's funny because Nick Scorton's dad looked at me sideways when I said, man, Nazir Stackhouse looked good today. I know he's really low on the totem pole, but he looked really good today in drills, and he thought I was nuts. But he made it. He made it. He's on a roster. I did like the way he moved. I'm not really finding much, man. I'm not going to dig into it right now. I'm kind of 53'd out, to be honest with you. It's like a big breath of fresh air that it was all just finally done. Now we get to move on to the regular season. You know, we'll dig into some of this stuff as we get into some of the morning shows. Maybe if Eric's listening, he can dig in. Oh, it looks like he's in the chat. Maybe he can dig into some of that stuff for tomorrow. I'll dig into some of it too if we get a chance to go on. So anyway, here's what I want to explain about Ahmed Hassan. The reason why I said it could be the last down he's played in Detroit. And Dale, to your point, you know, the other Lions player or channels, whatever, freaking out. I guess, how are they freaking out? You know, are they freaking out because they felt like Ahmed should have been on the roster? Or are they freaking out because they understand how this works and they understand that Ahmed could be gone? Right? Or are they freaking out because they feel it was a wasted draft pick as usual? There's many different vehicles, right? For me, it's this simple. Ahmed does not have to come back. He's a free agent right now. He does not have to come back to Detroit at all, period. He's, and yes, I did ask some questions to some people. You know who they are. And I'm not going to share the full thing, but let's just put it this way. Wherever the chips lie, when Ahmed is ready to come back, whatever's best for Ahmed is what's going to happen. Whether that's Detroit or Chicago, who knows, right? We have no idea. The real crappy part about doing this, and this is why I don't understand why Dan and Brad did this. I really don't. Either they didn't have any faith in Ahmed at all, or they feel very confident in Ahmed and that he's going to come back. Because why would you, I mean, you basically cut the player, but you can't cut an injured player, right? You have to do an injury settlement, or you have to put them on IR or a list, right? The IR list, the active list. Why would they do that? Why would they not just put him on IR designated to return and, you know, he sits the first 4 weeks? What we don't know is this. Here's what we don't know. We don't know how many weeks the injury settlement is. And that's the whole thing here. I honestly don't know if there's a minimum other than the 3 weeks that the Lions have to wait. So what happens is the injury settlement happens. So let's just say the Lions gave him a 4-week injury settlement. Okay. I don't know what the numbers are. Let's just say it's $15,000 a week. So they just paid him $60,000 to go away, right? Sorry about your injury. Wish you the best of luck. Here's $60,000. I'm sure they got to take care of all of his medical bills, right? And all of his treatment and things of that nature. I'm sure that's part of it. And he's gone, right? He's a free agent at that point. When those 4 weeks are up, Ahmed can then sign with any team that he wants to. After 3 more weeks, so after week 7, then the Lions can bring him back. So everybody else in the NFL gets a head start, a 3-week head start at grooming Ahmed, you know, maybe bringing Ahmed in for some workouts, having conversations. Let me just grab some rules real quick. I just want to make sure I don't miss something. So if a rookie suffers an injury before the 53-man roster is set, which was what happened, The team has a few options. Keep him on the roster, place him on IR, which could end the season, but we know that there's other options within the NFL, or negotiate the settlement, which is what the Lions did. Waived injured designation. The team waives the player with an injury designation if unclaimed on waivers. The player reverts to the team's IR list, right? So if he does go unclaimed, he would revert to the Lions. A settlement negotiation. No, I'm sorry. That was waived injured designation, right? The settlement negotiation, instead of keeping the player on IR all season, the team and the player agree on a financial settlement. So that part's already been done. They waived injured with settlement. So he's not coming back to IR, right? This is typically based on how many weeks the player is expected to be sidelined, plus a buffer, often 2 to 3 weeks. Example, if a player is expected to miss 4 weeks, the team might pay 4/18 of his base salary, since the NFL regular season is 18 weeks. Makes sense, right? He gets to 4 weeks. The player becomes a free agent. Once a settlement is finalized, the player is released and can sign with any other team. However, he cannot re-sign with the original team until the length of the settlement plus 3 additional weeks have passed. I think that's what all I said. I don't think I missed anything. And that sucks. It really sucks. Because I think this kid is, like, I think he's special, man. And it's not just because of the, you know, the short relationship that we had with Corey on the channel. It's not because of the continued relationship. I really think the dude has some ability. And what I went through today when I was going through Zadarius Smith and Trey Hendrickson's, you know, stats, what I was trying to embed in everybody's brain, because you hear all of this noise out there. I'm just going to call it noise from now on. That Broderick Martin was a waste. Hendon Hooker was a waste, right? And it's like, come on. These guys have to have an opportunity to grow. Not everyone hits the ground running and is the best at their job, right? You didn't turn 18 and become a CFO of a company, did you? And if you did, great. It was probably your family's company. But you didn't, did you? You probably had to go to college, maybe got a master's, had some onboarding, some training, maybe did some internships. And now you're 28 years old and you get to start at the bottom. Right? And then maybe 10 years later, you're 38 and then you get some keys to the kingdom. Right? You don't just become a CFO day one. And that's the same thing for a player in the NFL. Right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the CFO of his position. Right? And Jackson Meeks, that dude is, he's the window washer right now, right? He's got to work his ass off to get there. But you can go from window washer to CFO in as little as a year, 2 or 3. If you get the opportunity, if you get the snaps, and you do everything you can with both of those things. Broderick Martin didn't benefit from any snaps. He didn't benefit from, having an injury that kept him sidelined. But given the fact that Trey Hendrickson and Zadarius Smith both did not have a good first 4 years in the NFL, they were not CFOs when they came into the NFL. It took them 3 or 4 years each before they started to take off. And then it was Zadarius Smith for 2 seasons and Trey Hendrickson probably for the last 5 seasons has been really good. That's why you have projects, that at least 1 or 2 while you're building and shaping a roster and a team. Now, like I said earlier, I hate the repetitive nature of this show sometimes. You get squeezed out. And when you get squeezed out, today is what happens. The bottom of the barrel got squeezed out today. And I will say this, there's a lot of roster gymnastics going on. Brad and Dan are trying to figure out how to keep these players, and then at the same time, which ones are going to snake through, and then how they're going to come back. So I've said all that. You've heard all that. That's the explanation I'm going to give you on Ahmed Hassan. As far as I think it's unfortunate. I think it was unnecessary. I'm being dead serious when I say I think it was unnecessary. I don't know what Brad and Dan have planned, and I don't always agree with everything that they do, and I think that this was a mistake. I really do. Again, I'm not in their shoes, but I think that this was a mistake. If he does not come back to the team and he ends up being a really good football player, this was a mistake. Just like last year, how I felt, when you don't put players on a list to start the season, and like Mosley, right? That was a catastrophic mistake. You lost Starling Thomas, and then you end up with Mosley not playing at all again for the second year in a row. Like that's a much bigger mistake than Broderick Martin or Hendon Hooker, right? Especially when 9 out of 10 players that you're drafting are getting significant snaps in the NFL, and 7 out of 10 are making some sort of a Pro Bowl, right? I'm sorry, not 7 out of 10. About 5 out of every 10 are making some sort of a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro or really good at their position and deserve it, right? Or they're in the top 10 at their position. This is just a mistake to me that it's glaring. Like, what the hell happened, man? Hence the title today. What the hell happened? What really happened in the preseason that made you believe that you needed to start the season with 50 guys? And I know what a lot of you are thinking. It's, well, Za'Darius is coming back, or this guy's coming back, or my idea is, okay, the sign and trade with Trey Hendrickson could be a real option now, and it makes more sense now, but it's still unlikely, very unlikely. Who's going to fill those 3 spots? I said the other day, is Frank Ragnow going to come back? Doubtful. Very doubtful. Who knows? Hell, maybe Dan Campbell's going to suit up with his 7th knee replacement. I don't know. I don't know anymore. All right, what are you guys saying in the chat here? Let me get the chat popped out. Hope you guys are all doing well tonight, man. It's been a long couple weeks. I'm tired, man. I am tired. It's been a long couple weeks waiting for all this. Digging into it. All right, so Peter Van Laarhoven, why not protect the 3 extra players that Brad could have protected? You mean by putting them on the roster? I don't know, man. Look, I get this. Just like Mueller says, the bar is high for Detroit. This is a very tough roster to win, right? It's a very tough roster to win and get on and find a spot. It really is. And I know that from what Dan has said over the years now, over the seasons, he prides himself on that 53, right? I think that Dan and Brad both do. And I think that they take a lot of pride in who makes that roster. It's not just handed out, right? It's not like, this is not a participation medal. You know what I mean? Like, this matters to them. This is a badge of honor to become a Detroit Lion. That's what they believe. I believe it too. I really do, especially with what product that they've already put on the field and the type of guys they have in the locker room. I mean, this is a class AAA, double diamond, whatever you want to say, kind of roster, man. I mean, it's the cream of the crop. I don't care where you look around the league. I don't care what team you want to compare to the Lions. Good luck comparing the class organization and the type of football players that are in that room that I'll be in tomorrow good luck trying to compare that to any other team and say that another team has it better. I don't care about Super Bowls. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the players, the coaches, and this revived organization. I think it's bar none one of the best in the league. The front office, everybody, they do such a good job. They really do. But that doesn't mean I don't feel he made a mistake today with not putting some guys on a list. Okay, so you're going to reserve. Here's the question that I have that I did not get answered today. I don't think. Let me double check. I asked someone smarter than me. No. Okay. I did get the answer. Thank you. I just said, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but did the Lions seriously not use an IR designation to return before cuts? Because I saw, a few people put out IR on their report, with who was it? Ezekiel. It might have been Ezekiel Turner. And so the answer I got back was they did not. Clearly no player was deemed worthy. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. It's a very, and I'm not going to say who that is, but let's just say they know their shit. No player was worthy. So Ahmed Hassan, he was not worthy of an IR designation to return. Huh. That's interesting. I can understand with Morris Norris, right? I get that one. And I can't even remember who else was injured today. It was Ezekiel Turner, I think, that had the IR, but I don't think it was IR to return, which means his season would be done, right? So he must have, I think Eric, I never saw it, but I think that Eric said he had an Achilles injury or something, or a potential Achilles injury. So I get it. I just don't want to see Ahmed go somewhere else. So you didn't put him on a list. You didn't put him on a reserve list after the fact. And that's the part I don't understand. I think some players played pretty well in preseason, Keith Cooper being one of them. Now he's one that obviously Dan and Brad probably think are going to, they're going to be able to get him back. And I still think that my practice squad is probably 85, 90% accurate. Right? But by the way, I did get myself caught up today. I didn't do as good as I thought I did. However, I don't think that I should be penalized because they decided not to fill the 53. Right? We agree or we disagree? Let me go back and find my article here. Here's where I ended up this year. Wasn't terrible. It's not as good as I wanted. So, Lions had 50 out of 53 players on the roster. There is 0 more moves to make. Really, there's 3 more moves to make, but they did 3 extra moves and they needed to. And I went 45-8, but that 45-8 that equals 53, obviously. So if you were to penalize me, if we were to take 3 players off, then I would have went 42-8. Right? So I guess I really went 42-8. That probably makes more sense because I got 8 wrong. Either way, I only missed on 8 players. And here's what I think is going to happen. Some of the players that I thought were going to be on the roster, they're going to be back. Right? And then what? They just didn't get a 53-man award letter today. They got a pink slip instead. Let's see. Trey says, everything that happened today is not meant for any of us to understand. There's a plan already in place. Yeah, maybe. Depends on what you believe in, Trace. Maybe Hassani needed to be medically released so he could go home to Egypt and rehab there and be with his family. Maybe, but he's been living in America for a while. He's got some family here, a lot of family here. Let's see. Brad better be shopping at Macy's and not Walmart. That sounds like a certain individual's take. The old dollar store Brad. Look, Brad is anything but dollar store. You know, like you hear the crazy things that people say, like, you know, Brad's always bringing in injured players, and every team does it. Every team does it. And there's a reason why they do it. Here's one take on it. If you can get a late first or an early second round projected player and they fall, right? Or maybe you're getting, let me rephrase all that. What if you get a mid-first round player at the beginning of the second round? And the only reason why they're slipping is because maybe they have a banged up hamstring or they're still rehabbing from an ACL or an Achilles. Look, I hate those injuries and I hate that we bring them in, right? I don't like it. I don't like it just as much as the next guy. But it's the high value reward that you're getting, right? You're spending a second round pick on what would be a first round pick, you know, or you're spending a third round pick on what would have been a first round pick. Whatever it is, you're now getting a player that, when healthy, should, if it all happens, is going to play like a first-round pick. Jamison Williams. Are you mad that he brought in Jamison Williams? Let's be honest. We can't blame Brad or get down on Brad for bringing in an injured player unless you're going to put Jamison Williams in that boat too. Fair? I think it's fair. I think it's absolutely fair. What I don't think is fair is that we tend to pick and choose instead of staying consistent with the things that we say. And the thing that really bothers me is all of these hot air balloons and noise makers are going to be rooting for this team this year. And when they're winning, right, all is good now. All is good. So it's just, it gets old, man. It really does. So what are the questions? I really wanted to get some calls tonight. I mean, we can try one, I guess, and see if it works. I've never done it on this thing with success yet. So I'm not sure if it's going to work. I don't even know if I have to have this little light turned on. Or not. We can do it another day too. Okay. Salty wants to know my honest opinion. That's all you're ever going to get, Salty. It's my honest opinion. Does Tesla's emergence make it easier to let JMO walk in 2 seasons? Well, JMO's last season is next year. No. Wait, what year did we get JMO again? 22? Yeah, 22. He sat for the year, played 6 games, played a portion of 23, a portion of 24. Yes and no. One sec. The reason why it does is that if Isaac Tesla does take off, you now have a very cheap option, and you don't have to fork out that kind of money to another wide receiver. Now, is Isaac Tesla going to be exactly what Jameson Williams is? No, he's not. But can he produce, right? Everyone produces in their own way. Isaac Tesla might be that guy that just wins, like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He just wins. It's not flashy, right? He's not burning up the turf. He's not super tall going up and getting it. You know what I mean? He just wins. It's just his nature, his style of the game. He just wins. Now, Isaac Tesla could be the same way. He's got size, right? He has speed. He definitely has the brains and he has the hands. If he can put it together in season against good football players across from him, then after this season, it's definitely going to be a very tough conversation for Brad and Dan to have. How do we approach it? Well, you franchise JMO. You don't pay him. If he sticks around, great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. You know, I think it's that simple. I don't think that it's hard to replace speed, but I don't think it's hard to replace production. Speed is different, but if that's all you're really counting on with JMO is his speed, there's still guys that can go in and produce and still get just as many yards, just as many touchdowns, just as many catches as JMO without the speed. It's by running precision routes and being smart, knowing where to be, when to be there, right? And you just go out and win. So for me, yes, the answer is yes. It does make it easier. Does it mean it'll happen? No. But I think you're onto it, though. I think that by the simple fact is we can still keep JMO for another 3 seasons and not pay him a full boat. He'll get all guaranteed money, but it won't be a full boat compared to what he's probably going to get if he has a really good year this year. Now, let me throw this at you. Humor me for a minute. Do you ever think that Salty, I don't know, man. I'll have to look. Do you think that Dan would ever tell John Morton to make sure that they spread the ball around? To tell Jared Goff, hey, we need to spread the ball. I mean, obviously we want to win, but we need to feed. We need to feed everybody. Why would you do that? If you suppress somebody's stats, and I'm not saying that this is happening, I'm not saying it ever would happen, but it has happened, right? There's been some horror stories that we've witnessed over the years, and it wasn't with the Lions. It was another team. I can't even remember who it was now. If you were to try to suppress somebody's stats just to dumb down the amount of money you think you have to pay them, would that matter? It's kind of weird, right? But no, I haven't looked at Spotrac. So what happened in Spotrac? The Lions salary cap? They still have $48 million. Where are you seeing 6 million? OTC still has them at 48 million. Let me take a look at salary cap for the Lions on Spotrac. Cap space on Spotrac is 39.7. 39.695. So they lost about 9 mil today. They lost about 9 mil. And I'm not sure why. But I don't remember what Spotrac was calling for the Lions. And you would have roster bonuses and things that would have gone out today. So let's take a look. You've got a roster bonus 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 8, 12, 5. You had about 12.5 million that went out in roster bonuses today, which, according to what's left in cap space, that would have given the Lions 52 million, 53 million, something like that. Again, this is just, I'm doing quick numbers. 4, 8, 8, 5, 9, 9, 5, 10, 11, 3, 11, 8, 12, 3. Yeah, about 12, 12, 4 in that range. So there is roster bonuses that go out. I just don't know if it's day one. You know what I mean? Is it really today? It could be. But there is about $12.5 million in roster bonuses that, according to Spotrac, are going to be going out at some point. Let me just take a look at the roster to see if it's... Yeah, this roster doesn't look like it's even complete. Hold on. Meek, Gibbs. Pat O'Connor, Jake Bates, Vaki, Hogan Hatton, Chris Smith, Dominic Lovett. No, Spotrac is complete. It looks like they've gotten it updated today. So they might be accounting for, for some of these bonuses. But I don't know why there would be such a difference in cap space between two sites. Like I don't know why Over the Cap says that they still have 48 million this year, and the other site says that they have 39.7. But good catch. But yes, absolutely. But I don't see where the 6 million is. Oh, there you go. True Hears says, I think that we should trade JMO for some great picks. See, now you're talking my language, man. Like, as much as I love to keep some of these players around, that's exactly how I would operate. I hate to say it, but you have to have an investment in players, and you have to be able to get back from the players what you invest in them. But at the same time, the relationship between you and a player has to be how do I say it? You have to be able to walk away professionally, right? You have to be able to say, I'm sorry. Like, it's like today, I'm sure Brad's probably 12 deep right now into a case of Coors or whatever the hell he drinks. He's probably having a rough night right now. Brad and Dan. Dan especially. It's rough, man. These guys have relationships with these players, man. Young men that they're trying to shape. They build it up and it all gets torn down in one day. And then you go through the season, and then every year 15, 20% or more of this roster turns over. And then he has to start all over again. He had flypaper hands. I've never heard that, Maureen. Like, that's kind of funny. Flypaper's some sticky stuff. Got some mouse traps around here somewhere, and that stuff's real sticky. Well, it's mouse and everything traps. Catches the bugs at the garage door. All right, what do we have for questions? I'm going to jump off here in a few. Anything that's on your mind, anything you want to talk about, let's get it out now. My biggest question to you guys would be, do you think we got better? Do you think we got better as a team? How many wins now do you see this team having? That's the biggest question. I'm sure Eric and I will cover it at some point. And we'll do a full season outlook. Now I can start to do some stat evaluations and start to look at it that way. But do you think we got better? And just because we got better, does that mean that we should win 15 games? No. It's a tough season. It's a tough schedule. I'm just hoping every single one of those teams that we go up against suffers something before we do in the week that we're showing up. That's all I'm hoping for. Art Vandalay says, sorry if I missed it, but who do we think we are filling those 3 open spots? Okay, let's look at that constructively. Let me open up. Let me open it up here. Man, poor Ahmed, dude. Everywhere I look, man, you see this dude. Like that really bites, man. What's interesting is we have, did we only have 3 defensive ends on the roster today? 3. So is that going back to some of the things that I've been saying? Are they going to fill it with 3 defensive ends? You know, there was a year that we kept 7 defensive ends, right? 7. Here, actually, let me pull that up. Let me see what year that was. Might have been 23. 23. We had 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hutchinson, Kaminsky, Romeo and Julian Okwara, James Houston, Josh Pascal, and Charles Harris. 7 defensive ends and 5 defensive tackles. We had a total of 12 defensive linemen. That's the most we've ever had. In 2024, we kept Hutch, Davenport, Pascal, Houston, and Kaminsky, but Kaminsky was going to IR. So had Kaminsky not gone to IR, maybe we would have only kept 4. You know, maybe James Houston wouldn't have made the roster. But because Kaminsky got hurt, that probably left James Houston on the roster. And because Broderick Martin got hurt and was going to IR, we only kept 4 defensive tackles. Right? And then this year, Keith Cooper's gone. Let me cross him off my list. Pat O'Connor made it. I'm not surprised there. Roy Lopez, Mekhi Wingo, Tyleek Williams, DJ Reader. So we got 5, and then Aleem McNeil coming back. So that's 6. So there's one of your guys. Aleem McNeil needs to come back at some point. The question is, when is he coming back? Right? Is he going to be back sooner rather than later, or are we just going to have to drop somebody later? Which is probably going to happen. You're going to have to drop somebody later. You know, the other thing is this. You only can go to the game with 48 guys. So does it even matter if you have a 53-man roster? Maybe you only need 48. Then you don't have to cut nobody every week. You'll leave them home. You just go to the game with your 48. I know, I'm being facetious here. Okay, so the other areas, we had DJ Reed, Rocky Sin, Cleo Dorsey made it, right? I don't have a roster open. I'm just looking at my roster. The other one that I haven't fixed today. Okay, so DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold, Meek Robertson, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Rocky Sin, Avante Maddox, Khalil Dorsey. Yeah, he made it. So Eric Hallett didn't make it. Let's bump him off. Nate Lynn didn't make it. Keith Cooper didn't make it. Ian Kennelly didn't make it. Dan Skipper didn't make it. Jackson Meeks didn't make it. Michael Neese didn't make it either today, did he? I don't think he did. Pretty positive he didn't. That was Kingsley. So I went Kingsley, Neese, Kingsley, Neese, and of course then Kingsley makes it. So Aguakin made it as our backup center, and it made sense, and that's exactly why I thought that he was going to make it. But then I looked at his scores, and I'm like, man, I think that you got to go out and find another. You got to go out and find another center. You can't keep him on the roster. He hasn't played that well. So I guess looking around, I got to put Craig Reynolds on. He did make it through. Not surprised there, but I was banking on that extra receiver, and that's what blew my mind today. Is they still kept 6 receivers and didn't go deep on defensive line. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. A year ago, you got your ass smoked with injuries. Excuse my language. And you don't go in double, triple, quadruple down when you have some pretty good football players. You can always drop the guys later. Right? If you can upgrade, you can always drop the guys later. And correct me if I'm wrong, but bringing in a lot more, young guys and rookies, doesn't that help us for? No, I guess it wouldn't. Never mind. Scratch that. That idea just failed halfway through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who didn't make it on the offensive line that I had? Kingsley Jamarco. Coyote. Panay Giovanni. Oh, Nice. I still got Nice on there. See ya. All right, so last thing I'll say is a lot of these moves, when you look at it on the face, I mean, it looks kind of funny, but, some of the guys that we cut, or a lot of the guys that we cut, I think it was about 8 of them. Are vets. Come on. Lions site. Here we go. Lions. Now it's roster moves. There it is. So looking at the released guys, Miles Adams, he can come back because he's a vet. Tristan Colon, he can come back because he's a vet. Tom Kennedy, Natane Muti, Anthony Pittman, Dan Skipper, Malik Taylor. And I think every single one of those guys is coming back except for Malik Taylor. I don't think he did enough, period, point blank. And Ezekiel Turner's year is done. So I think all those guys are coming back. And I think I have all of those guys on my practice squad, prior to cut day, besides Skipper, of course. And Malik, I didn't have him on there. But on my practice squad, I had Kingsley, so I can remove him. That was a miss, swing and a miss. I had Dominic Lovett on there versus Jackson Meeks. That's a swing and a miss. Craig Reynolds, I had him on there because he was a vet. Again, thinking that they were going to go deep, and they didn't. Chris Smith made this roster, right? So he doesn't need to be on the practice squad anymore. So, yeah, I had Miles Adams, Anthony Pittman, Isaac Ukwu, Broderick Martin, Mitchell Agudi, Mason Miller, Jacob Sailors, Zach Horton, TK85, and Hendon Hooker on the practice squad. So you still need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 5 guys on the practice squad. If this roster, pans out, and Tristan Colon, I'm going to throw him on the practice squad because he was released, right? And he's a vet. We'll just have to see what happens. But I think he's coming back. So I already spoke about the Ahmed situation. Did you miss it? That was like the very beginning. And I did a whole video on it today too. I don't want to roll back through it again. But it's at the beginning of tonight's live. You did? Okay. It's no biggie. It's just I don't want to repeat all again because I've already said it like 4 times today, And did a whole video on it, which was like the 3rd time. No, you don't have to research it, man. All you have to do is rewind. Just hit rewind. And you'll hear it all. Or go into my videos after you're done or after I'm done. And I did a whole video on it because I'll give you the nuts and bolts, man. He may have played his last down in Detroit. That's the doom and gloom. He's a free agent. He can get picked up by any other team in the NFL, and then the Lions have to wait an extra 3 weeks. So that's the nuts and the bolts. And it sucks, and I think the Lions have made a big mistake. Let's see. I think, what was the question, U of M, Dad? What am I missing? Oh, is Barnes going to be used as a hybrid? Hybrid what? Defensive line? Like defensive end? Maybe. I wouldn't think so. But kind of what I was saying earlier, I think that our linebackers are going to be put in that position to win. I really don't expect us to sit tight with 3 defensive ends. Like, that's crazy unless our defensive scheme is changing. And by the looks of the guys that we kept, we're not changing to a 3-4. Let's put it that way. We know that. But it doesn't mean that we won't do more 3-4 looks, right? It doesn't mean, hell, it doesn't even mean that we won't go bigger on defensive tackle and use bigger guys and maybe go 5 down linemen at some time. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think that they're trying to get faster. I think that's the key, is I think they're trying to get faster. They need speed for Calvin Shepard's style of defense. They need speed. They need to be a little bit smaller and a whole lot quicker. Right? So your big guys, you use them as you need them. But if you look at Grant Stewart, I think that tells you enough. They want speed. They want guys that can hang and be multiple. But anyway, we've talked about this all day today. I at least wanted to come in and because I said that I would, and it took me forever to at least get my volume to work again. So I'll potentially be back in the morning. I'll text Eric and I'll touch base with them by 7 in the morning, and see what we're gonna do. If there's a thumbnail, we're going. If there's not, we're not. And it would be up no later than 7 a.m. anyway. So, it looks like he's still up. So, all right. Anyway, I'm out of here. You guys, look, we got a team. We got a team. That's the only thing that matters. And you know what? It's a team that's going to win. It's going to win a lot of football games. I have no doubt in my mind that this team is going to do great things this year. I just hope that we stay healthy. That's the ticket. And I hope that Brad pulls something off. You know, I really do. I think that he's obviously combing everywhere. And I haven't even had a chance to look at all the cuts today to see who's available. And so once I get a chance to do that, maybe I'll spend an hour tonight if I can keep my eyes open, and I'll research a little bit on who's available. I'll leave you with this though. Are you putting any stock in a sign and trade? Or do you think that Trey Hendrickson would come to this team at the trade deadline? Now, this is not me doing a what do you call it? Hypocritical take. It's not that. It's now a pivot where you know what you got, right? You know what you have. You know how much it's going to cost at the trade deadline. If the Lions are playing well and the Bengals are not, expect Trey to get moved. And so my question would be then, does it make sense? And I think the answer would be yes. Definitively. That's when you're going to have to go all in right then and there. If Trey Hendrickson is on the board and you can get out of it, you know, inexpensively. It's going to cost you some money. But how much in a pick would it cost? Because the Bengals, they're not going to pay him. They're done. That relationship is over. It's done. Yeah, he took $30 million for the year. So now you know it's not $160 million. Right? It's not 120 for 3. It's not 90 for 2. You know, it's $30 million. And so if you get to the trade deadline, you might only have $15 million left on that contract, whatever's left unpaid. And that's what you're bringing in. You're not bringing in 30. You're bringing in whatever's left. And I haven't looked at the contract, so I'm not sure how it breaks down. But all right, we'll see you guys. Go in pride. Go Detroit Lions. Take care. I'm out of here.